Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to 30 to Life. I know it's been a minute. I just want to tell you all this, man. I really appreciate every single one of you that reached out, messaged me and wanted to know what was going on with me, see if I was okay, if my family was okay, things like that. And I really appreciate that, man. Much love to all of y'all that was checking in. So basically what was happening with me is a few months back, during, the whole thing that's going on in this world, the lockdown and everything, we had a bright idea, me and my wife, is to get out of the area we were living because, the crime was going up and everything, my little kids and all of that. We decided, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna sell our house. Let's try to get up out of here. And y'all know the shit happened in the world, and it kind of just fucked everything up. We had our house on the market and we just weren't getting no bites or nothing. Like 45 days on the market. And, just nobody was interested in buying a house at this time, because of course what was going on. So after that little bit of time, we took the house down and we talked to another realtor. And this realtor actually just said, hey, you know what? I got a list of things you guys can do with your home. If you do that, I'll go ahead and put it on the market for y'all and try to sell it then. So basically, we ended up, doing a little bit of renovations around the house. And man, this realtor, we threw the house back on. And me and my wife, we thought, hey, it's gonna take a long time. Probably no one's gonna buy a house right now, but let's just give it a shot. Out of nowhere, that thing sold that day. So we didn't have nowhere to go because we haven't found a house to even bid on or anything like that. We just knew the area we wanted to go to. So it was very stressful at that moment. What happened is like my family and I, my kids, my wife and I, we all ended up having to go find this place. It was like an Airbnb on this dude's property. We went to this place, got my whole family there, and it was just it was just off the hook, man. Next door was a trap house. I couldn't make videos. I couldn't get back really do much for a while, and then finally. During this whole time we were stuck at this Airbnb, we were there for about maybe a month, and our time there was coming up to where they was about to kick us out. And at the last moment, we found a house, we put a bid on it, and we got lucky, and here we are. So, it was just life-changing shit, and, I had to go through that. So I wasn't able to make videos like I used to. But I'm back now, man, and I'm glad to be back, and I really appreciate y'all. So anyways, let's get back into this. You guys been looking forward to some stories from me, and I've been getting a lot of requests about the Native Americans in the California prison system. Do they program with the others or whatnot? So I'm going to share with you guys my experiences with the Native Americans and how it was for us in the California prison system with them and us, the other car. So my first experience with the Native Americans was in High Desert State Prison. I was on Sea Yard, and I got to meet a couple good homies that were Native American. So at this time, we were all the same car. And I remember, a couple Indian homies there that was on Sea Yard with me, but one of them in particular, I used to talk to him a lot about appeals, the court system or whatever, because at the time I still had an appeal. He was actually in the middle of his own appeal, and basically he was at the last court, the very last court of appeals, which is the Ninth Circuit. But basically he was waiting on an answer from them to see what happened, and he was telling me that he really had a good chance, even though he got shot down before a couple times. He felt that in this court, they were going to, really give him a chance. So I don't know what his whole case was about, but for some reason he felt like he shouldn't be doing the time he was doing. So I just remember coming to the yard one day and seeing him on the yard, and he was over by the punching bag. And I went over there to talk to him. And I remember I got over there and he was over there with another Indian brother. And when I went over there, I shook his hand. He shook my hand, but he was different. And I could tell he was like looking through me. He wasn't really just, looking at me. He shook my hand, and then he basically told me, I ain't got time to talk to you right now, we're doing something, basically just letting me know that, you know, he didn't want me to be right there with him right now. It was finna go down. I didn't know what was happening, but so I walked away and I, went and hung out with the homies and shit. And just not even about 5 minutes later, him and another Indian homie ran up on another cat on the basketball court, and man, just started ginsuing this dude, just getting in on him. And yeah, and that was over. And that was the last time I saw him. But come to find out, I guess he had found out that day or that morning that his appeal got shot down. So it was pretty much over for him. But I'll never forget his eyes, when he was just like seeing through me, he was already gone. And, that's just how the situations are in prison. But yeah, so, I met a couple good brothers in, and then eventually what happened is our cars split because the others had got into it with the Southsiders. And when that happened, the Native Americans, they didn't jump, they stayed out of it. So, when we came back after the smoke cleared and everybody came back to the yard and everything, after the lockdowns and, back to regular program and all, decision was made for us to split, and we'll just leave it at that. So my next run-in with Native Americans was when I went to B Yard, and this was in 2000, I want to say 2001, 2002, something like that. And I went to B Yard, and on B Yard, the homies were split up from the Native American car there also. And, but there was one Native American that was still running in the car with us. And I'm not going to say his full name, but we'll just call him Pomo. He was from the Pomo tribe. So Pomo, he ran with the homies over there, and I got to know Pomo real good also. And Pomo, he was basically the guy in the car that, made all the weapons. So he was a professional at finding pieces and creating some decent ass, woo-wops. But anyways, so he ran with us. That was a good homie, still running with us. But I remember having a conversation with him, and we would see the other Indian homies. Well, they weren't our homies no more, but the AMI car, they were running with the Woods and the Southsiders. They sat on the same side of the day room as them, and that's who they were clicked up with now. But I just remember Pomo telling me, man, hey Ron, I just, he was with saddened eyes. He would tell me, like, I just don't understand why my people are running with the Woods, especially with the whole history we have. And, you could tell that it just really messed with him, the way things were. And the cool part about it is that those dudes, those AMIs that were on the other side of the day room, they hated Pomo. They felt he was a traitor, and if they had a chance, they'd probably ginsu his ass. But he ran with us, so we kept him with us the whole time. So if they had a problem with him, they would have a problem with the rest of the car. So it just got left at that. But he was basically a great asset to the car, and a good homie, and I'll never forget someone like him. Later on down the road, another native came to the yard, and he was a homie. What was a trip about this guy is he was full-blooded Native American, what blew my mind about him was I met him when he came up to my cell to introduce himself. And when he came up to my cell to introduce himself to me and my cellie, he started speaking full Samoan to us. And I was tripping because I don't speak full Samoan. And so he was just like going in, but I understood what he was saying. He was asking our names and shit and where we're from and all that. But I answered him back in English. But anyways, I was like, man, who's this dude? This Indian dude making me look bad. But he's the homie. What happened with him is that he was adopted by a Samoan family when he was a young kid. So yeah, he was, basically Samoan, grew up with Samoans and spoke the language. And but he was straight Native American, straight Indian, and that was the homie. Yeah, so that was basically my experience with the Native Americans in high desert. But when I eventually got transferred out of high desert, I went to Solano, and when I hit Solano level 3, it was different there. The Native Americans, the AMI car and the other car, we were together. We sat at the same tables and everything. And yeah, so there I got to meet a lot more Native Americans, and you know, they were the homies. They had their own sweat lodge there at the prison and everything. They were just doing their thing, you know, and so they were real spiritual. But man, I can tell you one thing about these dudes, man, that I met. They're like, every time I met an Indian homie, you know, Native American homie, the motherfuckers were just off the hook. They were down. They were crazy as fuck. And even in Solano level 3, man, I watched them handle their business there. And like one of their folks turned out to be no good. And man, I watched these dudes handle their business there. You know what I mean? They handled their business on old boy, and yeah, they serious about theirs. So yeah, that was my experiences with the Native Americans in the prison system. Some places the Native Americans run with the Woods and the Southsiders, and then sometimes they ran with us, you know, so it just depended, I guess, in different places. So that's my story with the natives. And until next time, man, you know what it is. Stay the fuck out of trouble.